Ever wondered how the intriguing metaphor, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, came to be? To unearth the origins of this metaphor, we journey back in time, tracing its roots to ancient mythology. Mars, named after the Roman god of war, symbolizes strength and aggression. On the other hand, Venus, named after the goddess of love, represents beauty and nurturing. This celestial dichotomy was the seed that grew into the metaphor we're familiar with today. The metaphor's evolution didn't stop with mythology. It found its way into literature, becoming a symbolic shorthand for gender differences. From Shakespeare to contemporary writers, authors have used these planetary symbols to express complexities of gender dynamics. The metaphor has even permeated pop culture, becoming a common trope in films, TV shows, and music. But why these particular celestial bodies? Why not Jupiter or Neptune? The answer lies in the visible characteristics of Mars and Venus. Mars, with its red glow, is associated with aggression and war, traditionally masculine traits. Venus, the brightest object in the night sky after the moon, is linked with love and beauty, traits traditionally associated with femininity. These visible traits made Mars and Venus the perfect symbols for the metaphor. Of course, the metaphor isn't just about individual traits, it's about the relationship between the sexes. Just as Mars and Venus orbit the same sun yet remain separate, the metaphor suggests that men and women share common human experiences, but possess distinct perspectives and ways of interacting with the world. This metaphor has been etched into our collective consciousness, shaping our understanding of gender dynamics. It has provided a framework for discussing gender differences and has sparked countless conversations about the nature of relationships. But like any powerful metaphor, it also raises questions. Does it reinforce outdated stereotypes? Or does it offer valuable insights into the complexities of gender and relationships? These are questions we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into the metaphor, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. The metaphor associates Mars and Venus with certain traits, but why these planets? In ancient Roman mythology, Mars, the god of war, was often depicted as assertive, competitive, and independent, a symbol of power and strength. These characteristics over time have been associated with the stereotypical traits of masculinity. It's interesting to note that Mars as a planet is often described as red or fiery, further emphasizing these strong, aggressive connotations. On the other hand, Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, was seen as nurturing, emotional, and cooperative. Venus, the planet, is the brightest natural object in the night sky after the moon, often associated with light, beauty, and allure. These traits have been traditionally linked with femininity, symbolizing a more gentle and nurturing persona. But where do these associations originate? Well, they are deeply rooted in societal norms and expectations. For centuries, society has perpetuated these gender stereotypes, assigning roles and behaviors based on one's sex. Men were expected to be strong, assertive, and independent, embodying the traits of Mars. Women, conversely, were expected to be nurturing, emotional, and cooperative, aligning with the characteristics of Venus. However, it's important to remember that these are stereotypes, broad generalizations that don't account for the diversity and complexity of individual personalities. Not all men are assertive or competitive, just as not all women are nurturing or emotional. Furthermore, these traits are not exclusive to one gender or another. Men can be nurturing and women can be competitive. In fact, these traits are human characteristics prevalent across genders, and their assignment to one gender or another is a societal construct. It's a fascinating reflection of how deeply ingrained these stereotypes are in our culture that they have been projected onto celestial bodies that have come to symbolize the traditional understanding of masculinity and femininity. These celestial bodies have come to symbolize the traditional understanding of masculinity and femininity. But as society evolves, so too does our understanding of these concepts. The conversation is changing, and with it, perhaps, our celestial metaphors. The Mars and Venus analogy has left an indelible mark on our culture, but has it been all positive? The influence of this metaphor extends far beyond a mere conversation starter. It has seeped into the realms of relationship advice, self-help books, and even counseling sessions. A number of best-selling books have used this analogy as a foundation, providing insights into understanding the opposite sex and improving communication in relationships. The metaphor has been lauded for shedding light on the differences between men and women, promoting empathy, and fostering better communication. It has become a cultural shorthand, a way of encapsulating and explaining the complex dynamics of gender relations in a digestible, relatable manner. However, it's not without its fair share of criticisms. Detractors argue that the metaphor oversimplifies gender by reducing it to binary categories. They contend that it propagates stereotypes, painting men as inherently aggressive, symbolized by Mars, the god of war, and women as embodiments of love and beauty, represented by Venus, the goddess of love. Critics also argue that the metaphor can be harmful, reinforcing outdated and restrictive gender roles. By attributing certain behaviors and emotions exclusively to one gender, it can limit individual expression and perpetuate harmful stereotypes. It's also important to note that this analogy excludes non-binary and transgender individuals, further limiting its applicability in our increasingly diverse society. While the Mars and Venus metaphor has helped some navigate the labyrinth of gender relations, it's crucial to remember that men and women, like Mars and Venus, are part of the same universe, sharing more similarities than differences. The metaphor, while useful in some contexts, should not be used to box individuals into rigid categories. The impact of this metaphor is undeniable, but it's vital to consider its potential for reinforcing harmful stereotypes. As the conversation around gender continues to evolve, so too must our metaphors and analogies, ensuring they reflect the complexity and diversity of human experiences. Adding to the metaphor, we find women are from vines. What could this mean? In a world of celestial metaphors and planetary comparisons, the introduction of vines may seem somewhat out of place. However, upon closer examination, the symbolism of the vine provides a fascinating new dimension to the narrative. Vines in their natural state are remarkable entities. They grow steadily, intertwining with their surroundings, reaching out for support and forming intricate networks. This continuous growth and interconnectedness can be seen as a metaphor for the resilience, flexibility, and adaptability often associated with women. The vine's ability to connect, to bind, and to support mirrors the role women have traditionally played in societies across the globe. From nurturing families to building communities, women have been the threads weaving the social fabric together. This is not to say that men don't play an equally vital role, but rather to highlight the unique strengths and contributions women bring to the table. Moreover, the vine's symbolism extends beyond the individual to encompass relationships. Just as a vine forms connections with its surroundings, relationships are about forming connections with others. They require growth, adaptation, resilience, qualities symbolized by the vine. Yet, it's crucial to remember that the vine is not a solitary entity. It thrives in a network, an ecosystem. It's a part of a larger whole, just as individuals are part of a greater societal structure. This reinforces the idea that gender dynamics are not about isolated individuals, but about the connections between us all. The addition of vines to the metaphor serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of interconnectedness in understanding gender dynamics. It suggests that we should look beyond the binary of Mars and Venus, beyond the individual traits attributed to men and women. Instead, we should consider the complex web of relationships and interactions that shape our experiences. After all, we're not just celestial bodies floating in space. We're interconnected beings, growing, adapting, and weaving our narratives together, much like the resilient vine. Vines bring a new layer to the metaphor, emphasizing the interconnectedness of relationships. As we dissect this metaphor, we must consider the evolving conversation around gender. It's no secret that the way we think about gender has been undergoing a significant transformation. From the rigid binary system of the past, we're moving towards a more fluid understanding of gender identities and roles. This shift isn't just happening in academic circles or progressive communities, it's a worldwide phenomenon. People are beginning to challenge traditional notions that have long dictated how men and women should behave, what they should aspire to, and even how they should interact with each other. The men are from Mars, women are from Venus metaphor is not immune to this change. It's being reevaluated, reinterpreted, and reimagined in light of these new understandings. While some see it as a simplistic and outdated model that perpetuates harmful stereotypes, Others view it as a useful tool for navigating complex relationship dynamics, provided it's applied with sensitivity and respect for individual differences. Additionally, we're seeing a growing recognition of the diversity in gender identities. The metaphor's binary depiction of men and women fails to account for people who identify as non-binary, genderqueer, or transgender. This has led to calls for a more inclusive model that acknowledges and respects the full spectrum of gender identities. The conversation is also focusing on the importance of equality in relationships. Instead of viewing men and women as two distinct entities from different planets, there's a push towards recognizing common ground, shared experiences, and mutual respect. The idea is not to erase differences but to promote understanding and equality. But it's crucial to remember that as we evolve, so do our metaphors. They reflect our understandings, our misconceptions, and our aspirations. They're not set in stone. They're fluid, just like our identities. The Mars and Venus metaphor continues to evolve, reflecting our ever-changing understanding of gender and relationships. As we navigate these shifts, it's important to foster open-mindedness, respect for diversity, and a willingness to question and learn. After all, the goal isn't to reach a final destination, but to keep moving, keep evolving, and keep the conversation going.